Where is the pursuit of wealth making you feel ill? Does it mean that you have to keep up with the Joneses in terms of what car they have? Does it mean that you have fear around being perceived in a certain way? Does it mean that you don't spend as much time with your children as you would like because you're busy working, or you're trying to get your business off the ground, or you're trying to do a great job at work so you can get a promotion? But really starting to think, where am I at? Do I feel good about what it is that I have created in my life in terms of generating money? Abundance is an inside job, and your intuition is the key to unlocking it all. Hello and welcome. I'm Rebecca Davison, founder of the Intuitive Life Academy, the leading place to develop your intuitive and psychic gifts. As an ascension guide and light leader, I'm committed to bringing you all the latest tools, developments, and the neuroscience available when it comes to the art of effortless manifestation. This show is for light workers and for those who identify that your intuition is your greatest guide to bring you happiness, expansion, and money. With my corporate banking background, you'll receive practical advice along with all the energetic tools that you can apply in your life today. So if this resonates with you, let's jump into the world of abundance and learn what it takes to experience true freedom. Hello and welcome everyone. This is Rebecca Davison, your host for the Intuitive Abundance podcast. Welcome to episode 6. Today we are talking about, is the pursuit of wealth making us sick? I was at my mom's place a few days ago celebrating Mother's Day, and I picked up a book and it was called Affluenza. So the combination of the word affluence and influenza. And it was looking at, is the pursuit of wealth making us sick? I was like, this is my inspiration for the next podcast because I really want to talk about the difference between soul wealth and wealth, or the pursuit of wealth from the ego, and what the difference is, because there's a massive difference of living in an energetic frequency of abundance rather than just the pursuit of cash. And I know if you're listening to this and you're not so familiar with, I guess, more spiritual vernacular, to even say to live in an energetic frequency, there might be part of you that's going, well, what does that even mean? Right? It can sound very esoteric to live in a frequency. So I really want to start to unpack the difference between what it means to live from the soul and soul desire, and to live from ego and the ego desire. To start doing that, we really need to look at what is the ego. So the ego essentially is a reflex. When you go to the doctor and they tap on your knee and your knee bounces out in front of you, if you have a good reflex, the same happens with your ego and your rational mind. So your rational mind, obviously you're having thoughts every moment of every day. It can seem we have apparently like 60 to 90,000 thoughts every day, and a lot of them are the same as the day before. And what the ego does as the wee reflex on your thought process is it's always looking to keep you safe. Your ego, whether you're aware of it or not, will take you into what we call duality, right? It will take you into separation. It will take you into disconnect before you even know that it's happened. And what this can look like, of course, is judgment of others, is criticism, is wanting to keep ourselves separate from that which we perceive to be dangerous, not to our advantage. So this is why people say the ego is edging God out. We say that the ego often gets a really bad rap, but if you look at it, it's just a reflex. It doesn't really have any understanding of why it's responding the way that it is. It just is. And again, the motivation behind it really is to keep us safe. But as we discover when we start to look into working with the ego, it's also keeping us small. It is also keeping us often in environments where we end up feeling isolated and disconnected. We're creating more duality through the ego. Duality being I'm over here, you're over there, light, dark, good, bad, right, wrong, pass, fail, day, night. Of course, duality creates more separation. When we create more separation in our body, mind, spirit, psyche, we actually end up suffering. If we want to experience more peace, more harmony, more bliss, we want to direct our focus and our attention to oneness. Now, when we start applying universal laws, which we will definitely go into further through the Intuitive Abundance podcast, what we discover through the first universal law, which is the law of mentalism or the law of one mind, is that we're all connected. And when we start to focus our attention on this, we're going to experience more oneness. So really the focus on our soul is the journey of transcending the ego, of going beyond that reflex, which is endeavoring to try and keep us safe, to starting to see things from a perspective, which is the soul perspective, which is we're all connected. So if I have a critical judgmental thought towards myself, I'm actually harming the collective. And if somebody is having a judgmental thought towards me, they're not only creating hurt perhaps for me and my ego, but also for themselves. So we start to see things from a different perspective. We start to choose more oneness. Is this thought, comment, action, behavior going to result in more connection, or is it going to result in more disconnect? Is this thought, action, behavior going to result in more unity, or is it going to create a sense of isolation? So we start to look at things slightly differently. Now let's look at this and how it applies to money. And this is where the ego's pursuit of wealth, we start to realize how corrosive and destructive it can be. And unfortunately, we as human beings are often trained this way. And how this looks is often set up even from a couple of things: education system and the wonderful world of marketing. So let's have a look at the education system to start with, right? Because the education system is, and we're all agreeing to this education system that we have created through government and social structure. Education system says you can go to school and learn the knowledge that you can use from your mind, right? Learn this knowledge, and then you can get to go to high school, and then you can get to go to college. And if you work hard and you get a degree, then you'll be able to go out and get the best job possible. And from that job, you'll have better opportunities. You'll be able to create more wealth. You'll have better connections. You'll have a better standard of life. And then you'll be able to buy the big house. And then you'll be able to find the most amazing partner. And then you'll be able to have the children. And then you'll be able to have the security to be able to provide for your family and to be able to create security for your children's lives, etc., so on and so forth. And of course, what happens is as children, we go into this education system. It's kind of subconsciously and consciously imprinted into us that this is what we need to do in order to be, in inverted commas, successful. This is society's idea of success. This is what it looks like. You will have a certain body type. You will have a certain bank balance. You will wear certain clothes. You will go to certain schools. You will aim for the best in every element that you can. Now, you only need to look at, I don't know if you guys have seen this on Netflix recently, there was a documentary about the college scandal, about people paying to get their children into college, like these most prestigious colleges, and how they have these kind of backdoor, left door opportunities for people to kind of give some backhanders and get their children in through sports scholarships. Absolutely fascinating to watch, but quite horrifying on a different level in terms of people being so obsessed with being able to get their children into this considered highest caliber form of education. And the competition is fierce and it is all consuming, often for the people who are looking to either get their children in or the children themselves applying to get into these prestigious colleges. Fascinating in terms of looking at the psychology, the competition, the stress that is placed on people in terms of like whether they're right, wrong, good, bad, pass, fail, right? Like I'm going to make it if I get in, and if I don't, then I've been denied on the deepest level, like the deepest form of rejection, like watching some of the getting their results in terms of whether they've been successful, whether they'd applied or not. It was just, it's just soul destroying on a lot of different levels, that people are placing their value and their worth in this institution. And of course, what happens is we might be fortunate enough to get in and then to go on and study, then get this degree, but you can feel like the pressure in terms of performance and achievement is continuous. So here we've gone through the education system. Maybe you're following the life of somebody who looks like they're having the most amazing successes, receiving all the acclaim, the validation, the acknowledgement, and the success, so-called, and then they go out there, they get a job. That job might be well paid, probably stressful, and then of course it's like once you get to a certain level, then it's like you go for the promotion, and then it's like we've got the house, so now we'll get another house wherever that may be, get the more toys, upgrade the vehicle, get a jet ski, go on a skiing holiday. It becomes a bit of a rat race. The pursuit of wealth becomes all-consuming. And a lot of this is endorsed by society. This is what success looks like. And this is often too in marketing, while we can see, especially with younger people, children at a very small age are marketed to in such a way that they're pretty much hooked for life. A lot of children, by the time they're 5, 6, 7 years old, they're going to know what Coca-Cola is and what McDonald's is. Right? It's just a fact of life. They are being marketed to at a really young age. The cult of celebrity, we're exposed to this on a daily basis about what society is giving focus and attention to, and therefore, on some level, validating, saying this is what I would choose to experience, never more so with the advent of things like the Kardashians, who've received obviously a lot of criticism because a lot of people are like, well, they don't have any talent, they don't actually have any skill set, they're just famous for being famous, and have gone on to create multi-million-dollar businesses because of that, as a tailspin of that. So I guess what I really want to look at today is, whereabouts are you in your journey? Maybe you have had a job or a career that you have really enjoyed, but maybe you've got to a point where you're like, is this it? Because this is often what happens for people. They go through this education system, they go through this kind of subliminal programming process that we have through the education system, and then they get out into the world, and then they're excited and happy because they feel like they're moving forward. And then maybe 10 years down the track, maybe not even that, they're actually like, does this really fulfill me? Or is this as good as it gets? Or is this really what I signed up for? Is this really what my true heart's calling is? Is this really my sole purpose to be doing this particular job? And what happens, of course, is we can be so driven by that ego reflex that is trying to keep us safe because we need to make the money to survive. And sometimes even the fear can be driven by social status, right? Like, am I making enough money? Am I being seen to make enough money? Am I successful in my field? Do I have the appreciation? And am I receiving the kudos from my peers in my society? And that can be a huge motivator for people. But inevitably what can happen in those still quiet moments, probably 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, when we are lying in bed, stressed out to the max because our adrenals are on overload, and we're lying there contemplating whether this is really what you signed up for on the earth plane. And it all boils down to our pursuit of wealth, our idealization of, if I have the money, then I'm going to be happy. And this can be devastating for the ego to come to the realization that we have pursued wealth to the extent of our own health and our own happiness. Now, don't get me wrong, because intuitive abundance is about creating both. It's about creating time, space, happiness, peace, well-being, and wealth. But what has often happened through the rational mind, through society, through our education system, through marketing, right, branding, television, we have been exposed to this illusion, which is it has to look like this in order for you to be able to call yourself successful. And that's why the intuitive abundance journey is really about taking your attention off what everybody else is saying or doing, and really learning to listen to your own heart and soul, to learn to listen to that still small voice of calm within you that says, this isn't making me happy, or this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I came to the earth plane to do. I love that story about a person who's passed over and then they go to heaven and they're talking to God and they're explaining to God about their life and what they experienced and blah, blah, blah. And then they're just kind of looking at everything they've experienced. And then God's turning around and kind of saying, well, did you do the thing that brought you the most joy? Did you make the choice that lit you up? And do you want to get to heaven and to be the person who can't say yes to that? And I get it, this is a deeper question, but this is an important question, because what I have seen is for the people who choose to take the road less traveled, they have the courage to live from their convictions, from their heart, from their soul, from their intuition. They will make money regardless, right? Money comes as a side effect of them choosing themselves. But when you're in that rat race, as we like to call it, it can be frightening. I know from my own experience, having worked in corporate and sitting at my desk and just being so frightened, like confused, overwhelmed, frightened, kind of in despair really, because the question I used to ask myself a lot is this it? Right? Is this really what I came to the earth plane to do, to sit in a cubicle and to do loan applications? Is that really what I came here for? Is this as good as it gets? And even by asking the question, you're activating your intuition to start bringing you some information. So you want to ask yourself too, and I'm always asking myself this question, I think it's so important, which is, what could I do that brings me more happiness? And I even ask that through the context of my own business. Is there something else? Can we do this in a different way that brings more joy? How can I work less and make more money? Because it's totally possible. Because that is an option available to me. Now, if you don't believe it's possible, then it's probably not going to become part of your reality. But if you allow yourself to open up the energy and allow your intuition to guide you and show you how that's possible, then it absolutely is. Like, your beliefs do really become your reality. Henry Ford said it best, didn't he? If you believe you can or you believe you can't, then you're right. Your word is your wand in terms of what you're creating. But really starting to get to a point, and it's usually when people are probably maybe moving out of their 30s, starting to feel a little bit disillusioned, starting to ask deeper questions, maybe starting to wake up in the middle of the night and lie there ruminating and asking the universe. And they say that if you're experiencing insomnia, that it's really that the universe is wanting to talk to you. So starting to have that conversation and ask some deeper questions. Is what I'm doing now bringing me fulfillment? If I was doing something that I believed would be really fulfilling, what would that look like? And really starting to explore that. And I know that when we start to explore and ask these deeper questions, it can bring up a lot of fear. It can be, and this is the thing about money, it is hardwired into our psyche in terms of our security. So when we start asking these questions, even asking them can make us feel fearful. It can be like, what will happen if I wanted to go and do something that I really loved? How am I going to make money from that? My answer to that is like, I remember watching on YouTube once about some people who were making millions of dollars by building Lego and filming it and putting it on YouTube. So if that's possible to like have yourself play with Lego all day and film it and make money out of it, there is a way that you can monetize what it is that you love. But this is where we need to start galvanizing our energy and our focus to be able to have that come to fruition. And we need to start unhooking from society's opinions about what success looks like. We need to really do that deep dive into our own inner world about what it is that we value and where we're choosing to place our focus and attention. Are we placing our focus and attention on other people's opinions, agendas, behaviors, motivations, attitudes? Are you looking at social media and kind of wishing, wanting, or hoping that you could be like the latest celebrity? Or are you actually taking your attention and energy back to yourself and then choosing to focus it like a laser in the direction that you want it to go? And really, this is an intuitive process. We have to bring our attention back to ourselves. We have to hook from often the collective unconscious, right, reality of everybody else to bring our focus back to ourselves and start asking ourselves some deeper questions. What is it that I desire? How much joy is there in my relationship with money at the moment? If money was no object, what would you be choosing next? And then starting to play with some creative energies and then recognizing anywhere we have that fear. And like I said, of the journey of abundance, doing the work to clear our limiting beliefs so we can propel ourselves forward, so we can focus our energy in the direction that we want it to go, so we can get the bright ideas and then start taking action on them. One of the definitions of power is to take action. And it's also a universal law, the law of action. We have to take action for things to shift and move. We have to demonstrate to the universe that we are serious. And it is totally possible to do work that you love and to feel fulfilled and to make good money from it. But you have to ask yourself right now, what's showing up in my reality in terms of the pleasure that I'm receiving from my work? If you are self-employed, there are a million different ways that you can actually start adding more pleasure to your day. Looking at your computer screen for 8 hours a day is not necessary, and it will not get you the best results. Taking some time, being in your body, going for a walk, being in the sunshine, those things will open up your energy field. When your energy field is open, it's easier to magnetize what it is that you want. That's when you get the bright idea and you can go back and then take some action on it. When I first started working as a coach, I would often get guidance to go and play. And I'd be like, what? I've got stuff to do, right? But really it was Spirit's way of showing me that I was trying too hard. Right? When you're trying too hard, you're making things stressful, you're giving things too much intensity, and the intensity makes it feel hard. So if you step away from that, shift the energies around, go and do something fun and playful, expand your energy out, and then come back and apply yourself, it's going to feel so much easier. So often too, right, checking that within yourself. If you're kind of pushing too hard, and this is huge for women especially. Women these days are so capable, it is frightening, right? Women can and will often do everything. I had an amazing conversation with a client this morning about this, about how women, we often end up not trusting the masculine to do things for us. So women will get impatient and then they will go and do it themselves. And what does that do in terms of the polarization in the relationship? Polarization being the attraction between masculine energy and feminine energy. And then of course what occurs is that woman's actually stepped into more masculine energy. And what's that going to do to her partner? It's going to kind of feminize him. And if you want there to be strong polarity in terms of attraction between the masculine and feminine, you want to keep it hot and heavy and yummy, you want that polarization to be there. So women need to learn actually how to do less and how to guide their partner into doing more for them. And a lot of that is about openness and receptivity and being aware of where the energetic dynamic is between yourself and your partner at all times. But that's also a podcast for another day. So coming back, right, as women especially, we need to learn what it is to create space, to not have to do everything, and even to allow the universe to give to us. And when you're in the shower, or often when you're doing like a routine chore, something that you don't really think about, that's when you get your best ideas. Because that's when you're relaxed, you're open, and that's when it's easy for your intuitive guidance to drop the idea in, to drop the awareness in, to drop the aha moment where you're like, oh my goodness, that's exactly what I needed to solve that issue or problem in relationship to my business or whatever it is. So what we need to be aware of in the first instance, and especially too if you have children, what information are you telling them about money and about the creation of money? What does it take to start helping your children to understand the nature of money and what money is in their life? and what priority it has. Because you think about it, if you're an adult and you're in the pursuit of wealth on a subconscious and conscious level, you're going to be demonstrating that to your children. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? We all need money in terms of survival. But what does thriving for yourself personally and money look like together? Starting to be very aware and asking ourselves these questions, like, what am I showing my children in terms of creating wealth? Am I showing them that it's hard and stressful and time consuming and it's more important than them? Or am I showing them that yes, you can make money and be relaxed and have time and have space and have a little bit more balance, right? And again, you're going to be the only one who knows what the answer is to that question. You're going to know what your version of that looks like, but it's well worthwhile asking these questions. What messages are you telling your children about the education system? Are you telling them that they can do anything, or are you telling them that they have to go to university? Are you telling them that they can create wealth? Are you aware of any fear that you have that you might end up projecting onto your kids? Right? And I know sometimes we're like, ooh, I don't really want to think about that, or ooh, I don't want to be aware of perhaps where I am doing that. But can you imagine what it's going to do for you and your children to be aware of that and to kind of go, okay, now I have an awareness, I get to make another choice. And what choice can I make here so it does feel safe? Right? It feels safe for me, it feels safe for the children, it feels safe for our life. So many times I've seen it before where people have a job, often known as just over broke, and they're choosing to do that job because there's part of their psyche that's saying, I have to have a job to be able to make the money. And this is where we lose our power, and we have to go back to that place where we go, what? I made the decision to get this job in the first place. So I can activate my ability to choose in any moment. I can choose to apply for another job. I could choose to leave this job. I could choose to set up a side hustle. I could choose to do something else, right? We have to reclaim our power. Anywhere we're giving our power away to a perception of authority, right? Like my boss has the money to pay me, as opposed to I can create money myself. And this, whether you're employed or self-employed, it doesn't make any difference. You want to see yourself as the generator of your abundance. And if you are thinking that your money only comes from your boss, you want to collapse that belief because it will not be serving you. Money can come into your life in so many different ways. But if we give our power away to authority as such, we're really diminishing our capacity to be able to create it for ourselves. And really starting to look at all these other places where is the pursuit of wealth making you feel ill? Does it mean that you have to keep up with the Joneses in terms of what car they have? Does it mean that you have fear around being perceived in a certain way? Does it mean that you don't spend as much time with your children as you would like because you're busy working, or you're trying to get your business off the ground, or you're trying to do a great job at work so you can get a promotion? And of course, these days we are way more aware of it than we used to. We have a lot more lingo around it in terms of work-life balance and being able to really acknowledge that we're human beings, not human doings, and that there needs to be more space for us. But really starting to think, where am I at? Do I feel good about what it is that I have created in my life in terms of generating money? Am I kind of giving my focus away to subconscious fears that are driving me? Because I'm like, I have to do this. I should do this. The haves and the shoulds and the what ifs. What if I don't do this? What will happen? And this is why the journey of being in business can be so amazing in terms of personal and self-development and even spiritual development, because your business is always going to show you your stuff. Your business is always going to show you the parts of you that something needs to be addressed, where you're stopping yourself, where you're blocking yourself, where you're not expanding, where you're not going bigger, where you're not allowing it to be easier, you're making it hard. It's like the total responsive element in your life and world when you're self-employed. It's always showing you what is looking to be improved or enhanced. So even getting back to this idea, is the pursuit of wealth making you sick? And again, a really good place to start looking is to go, where do I have fear around money? Do I actually sit there and judge myself and go, my house isn't good enough? Do you judge yourself and go, I'm in my 40s and I'm still renting? Right? Where are you putting these preconceived ideas perhaps on yourself? And it's unnecessary. Where are you still hooked into the collective consciousness that wealth or success looks like this? Like, I'm not wealthy until I've got a Lamborghini in my driveway, or I'm not happy until I've got a Lamborghini in my driveway. It's also known as destination addiction, right? Where we think, when I get that, I'll be happy. And have you ever noticed where you've actually reached a goal, like especially a financial goal, you get to it and then you're kind of like, oh, okay. Unless you're really good at celebrating and grounding those energies into your body, it can often feel like, oh yeah, what do I do now? Right? Because we often think that achieving the goal is going to give us something. It's going to give us an emotional experience, which it might do for a period of time. And then we set another goal. And that's how we can get into this addictive cycle that once I get there, once I get all my ducks lined up in a row, once I make my first million, once I've got the boat or the Lamborghini or whatever it is, then I'll be happy, or then I will have arrived, or then I will feel successful. And what happened? And it doesn't work like that. The energy of what you're looking for is not in the thing. We want to create it within ourselves. And this is the difference, is realizing, flipping the flow essentially, and kind of going, if I'm investing in myself, if I'm working on how I'm feeling, if I'm looking at my limiting beliefs, then the money will be naturally attracted to this through the law of vibration, right? I will be able to step into a frequency where it's easy to go and get what it is that I want, whether it's the job or being self-employed or something else that is going to create wealth for you, because you won't be holding yourself back, which is pretty much how I got personally into cryptocurrency. Is there was just somebody said to me, hey, you should get into this. I leaned into it. I didn't feel any limitation or restriction whatsoever. It was pretty straightforward in regards to getting started. It's been a really fascinating journey. Like, one of the most fascinating things about it is the lack of resistance. And again, that's a podcast for another day to talk about crypto. But to be in that space, to recognize, right, when an opportunity is being presented, and to be able to take that opportunity. Now, we're not going to do that so well if we're living from fear. If we're living from, I have to do this to make money, and feel how that actually contracts us. It pulls back on your energy field. When you're pulled back again, if you go back to the fundamentals of manifestation, when your energy field is contracted, it's harder to be able to create what it is that you want. Energetically, you're not so expanded. When you're not so expanded, it's not so easy to attract what it is that you want. Your electromagnetic field isn't as expanded. When it's not as expanded, it's more difficult for intuitive information to come in. It's harder to be able to be in the energy of attraction, which is really, when it comes to manifestation, is what we want to experience. We want it to be effortless. We want to think about it and then have it show up. We want it to be that simple. But that takes some calibration of your energetic field. It's totally possible, but you have to learn how to stay in flow and out of resistance, and what to do when you get into resistance, how to get yourself out of it as quickly as possible so you can stay in the energy of manifestation and attracting what it is that you desire. So just starting to think, right? And again, this is probably a bigger topic than for one show, one episode, because there's so many dynamics that go into this. Like, we've just briefly touched on branding and marketing, and how there is so much psychology that goes into marketing. Right? It is pervasive, right? It is deep in terms of, on some level, we all know what, for example, like a major brand, right, would be Coca-Cola. We all know what the branding or the marketing is around that. It's Coke is it. Right? It's going to make you happy. You're going to drink it and you're going to feel like a sexy 20-year-old, right? On the beach in a bikini. It's a sunny day. Everybody's feeling awesome. We're going to share some good times together. That is deeply rooted in our psyche and has been for a long time. Capturing the imagination of people in terms of the emotions that you want to feel, that's where the marketing pros come into play. When again, it's not... We all know that margarine is not going to make sunshine through the window and have the kids jump up and down on the bed and everybody be happy about it, right? That is the power of marketing. And we are exposed to these messages over and over and over every single day, which is why I recommend that people don't watch the news, which is kind of like negative subliminal programming. And I know a lot of people would have contra information about that because they're like, you should stay informed. You are informed already through the collective consciousness. It's pretty much impossible to be a walking, talking human and not know what's going on there in the world, even if you don't have access to the internet. You're going to see it in your environment all around you. You're going to see it on a newspaper stand. You're going to see it at the supermarket. You're going to see it on the magazine rack. Through the collective consciousness, what is happening in the world. You don't need to spend hours on the internet every day. Even if you're still watching television, you're going to see some of that information, whether through advertisements, through snippets of the news, through a trailer, you're going to know. Not being really aware of where we're arguing for our limitations. I recommend that people don't watch as much television. I mean, they call it television programming for a reason, right? It's literally programming us on a lot of different ways. And also too, again, a whole different conversation in regards to media and how media is manipulated, right? You want to go to your intuition and ask what is true. After the pandemic, when the first quarantine happened, I can't believe the volume of conspiracy theories that I received. And again, getting overwhelmed about that myself, but then also going, okay, stop with the barrage of information and energy and let's start just tuning in to the intuitive self to find out the truth of what is occurring here. And I get it, sometimes that truth is disturbing, but also too shows you how much, and again, this is why it's so important to go into intuitive guidance and information, because if we're seeking to have our truth validated by the external experience, there's going to be distortion in that. We are the only ones who will know and feel and understand truth energy in our body. And there is a subjective truth, the truth that through your own perspective, your own upbringing, your own culture, your own background, your own religious upbringing, all of that is subjective because that's already been imprinted into your psyche. But then there's universal truth, the universe and how the universe operates. And we want to bring those one frequencies into our awareness, into our body, and we definitely want to do that when it comes to money. We don't want to have made millions of dollars and then still feel unfulfilled because we haven't reached into the depth of our soul. That's not what the universe's intention is for you. Now, the pursuit of wealth can absolutely be a noble cause, as they say, Napoleon Hill says, and think and grow rich, but not if you're not lining it up with the universe, right? If you're sidestepping the relationship with the highest part of yourself, with your super consciousness, with universal energies, then you are going to be feeling that sense of lack, unfulfillment, no matter how much money that you have. And we really want to be aware of this. Like, true richness comes from knowing ourselves. True richness comes from knowing our values and making choices that are in alignment with our values. And true richness comes from your energetic field and the choices that you are making, and making those choices from love and not from fear. If we're making choices from fear, it's going to add stress to our life. If we're making choices from fear, we inevitably will get ill because that stress is just going to not have a stop. It's going to continue. That's going to have a knock-on effect. It's going to affect our physical body. When I worked in banking on and off for 13 years, when I left, I actually think it took me about 2 years to unravel all the stress of living in a culture where there was always a deadline. There was always, and we used to medicate, right, through coffee, go and have a coffee at 10:30 in the morning, activate those adrenals even more, and to actually get my body back to a place where it was just like that feeling almost like life and death, like literally the deadline, right? This has got to happen. Like the loan's got to draw down today. We've got to make it fall into place. We've got to get it over the line. We've got to get it past the credit manager. And being the go-between, like often between credit managers and clients, it was intense. Big shout out to all the people who are still in banking. Love and bless you all, because it's not easy to be under that amount of pressure all the time. And no wonder you get to the weekend and your body is whacked. Like mentally, you would be almost having an out-of-body experience for myself sometimes, because you're using so much mental energy and that puts so much pressure on the physical body. And again, that's literally making us sick. And it's a revelation to live a life now where I live in alignment to my values 100 million% more. I have more time throughout my day and I'm making more money than I ever did in banking. Now that is a revelation. What a concept that you can actually be more relaxed, have more time, be living to your values, and therefore be happier and be creating more wealth. And all of that combined is more wealth. That is intuitive abundance. To listen to what's true for you and to choose to follow that, especially from the collective noise that is out there in the world. Because if you're an introvert, you only need to pop your head up for a very short time before you get overwhelmed and feel often like, goodness gracious, right? There can be a lot of collective guilt that we can tap into as well. The best thing you can do for yourself is take care of yourself, is get yourself in a place where you feel healthy. So then you can create change. When you create change for yourself, it has a knock-on effect for the people around you. That's how we start to change the world, by shifting our own vibration, by working on ourselves first, because that's something that you can do each and every day. Instead of rushing out there and going, I've got to go out there and be responsible for changing the world, start with yourself, right? It is the easiest place to start. And get really good at that. Get really good at living in a higher vibration, of knowing what it is to take your attention inwards, of being still, of being silent, of being present to infinite energies, of learning what it takes to ask the universe questions, to access the divine, and to receive the information and to take action on it. The action is the power piece. Right? Like, because I know so many people, like clients, they come and see me and they're already listening to their intuition. They're getting information and awareness, but they're not necessarily taking action on it. And once you start taking action on something that is not necessarily rational and it's not necessarily linear, you can get quantum results. Because your intuition can see so much more. Your guidance, super consciousness, can see so much more than just your rational mind. Your rational mind's still working through those 70 to 90,000 thought processes every day. And let alone your limiting beliefs, your subconscious drivers, your behaviors, your patterns, etc. And depending on your level of awareness and understanding of self, a lot of the choices that you make are going to have to sift through all that information in the first instance. Again, this is the journey of self-discovery. Intuitive abundance is really the journey of taking your attention inwards and going, okay, what is it that I would love to do? Is it that I would love to do that lights me up so much that I just feel joyful and radiant and blissful and I love it? And then to start clearing out of the way anywhere there's any part of you that thinks that you can't make money from it. Great question. What would it take? What would it take to start making money from it? To do whatever it is that you do. And literally these days, anything's possible. But that's how you want to choose. The litmus test is, what lights me up? And oftentimes people need help to cultivate what it is that they love, to know what that is, to give themselves permission to choose it. Oftentimes we can ask ourselves questions. What is it that you loved as a kid? Like, I loved being read a story. Like, my imagination was very profound. And as an adult, learning that your imagination is the gateway to your intuition makes sense, right? I loved playing with my strawberry shortcake dolls. And I loved being in that creative energy, which is what I get to do as a business owner. And my values, I love freedom. Freedom is my highest value. I live to that every single day. Once upon a time, I used to groan and commiserate about having to get up at, 6:15. And now I get up at the same time, no problem, because I get to choose to do that rather than feeling like I have to do that. It's a very different proposition. Pleasure. Pleasure is another. Like getting to know the universe is the ultimate pleasure. Like my dad often, when you would say thank you for something, and he would just say, my pleasure. And he really meant it. And again, abundance is really about living in that energy of knowing that you are safe, independent of money, knowing that you have what you need inside of you. Now, sometimes with intuition, we need some support to get to that place where we're working it, we know what it feels like, we know what the language is, we know the awareness of it in our body and our energy fields. We've worked it to the place where it becomes second nature, but I truly believe that intuitive guidance is there for everybody. However, you have to initiate it. You have to be the person who's going to go, yeah, I'm going to choose that. I'm going to listen to that voice, because guess what? Do you think that voice might actually know some information about helping you to create wealth? A lot of people are totally blown away by the fact that when I started my business, I asked my intuition, what do I do next? Now, that's a very different proposition from having worked in corporate banking and been in a situation where it's all about profit and loss. It's all about cash flow. It's all about projections. Just sit down and listen to your intuitive guidance and say, what's the next action step to take? It's a very different proposition from that rational world, and often fear-based. Like, we have to look at the numbers. We have to crunch the numbers. We have to make the numbers work, rather than being prepared to set that aside and then go into your intuitive nature and start asking questions. Very different perspective, and possibly what's more fun, right? What feels more expanded. So really starting to look for yourself. Where is the pursuit of wealth making you ill? Is it showing up in stress? Is it showing up in your physical body because your body's been under a lot of stress for a long time? Is it showing up and feeling like you need to keep up with other people and competition? Is it showing up in not being able to spend more time with your family? Is it showing up in not living to your values? Starting to ask yourself some of these questions, and if you could change it, what is it that you would be looking for? Because I can guarantee you right now, even if you're not aware of what your values are, your answer to that question will start to show you. What is it that you would choose if money was no obstacle? That answer is going to give you some information in regards to what it is that you do value, what you would place money towards. What would you give to? How would you choose to spend it? What would you contribute to? How would that make you feel? And this is the thing about money and manifestation. At the end of the day, what anybody ever really wants is to feel a certain way. And that feeling is actually a frequency that you can live in. Like if you're tuning the radio station onto a particular channel, how you get it nice and clear, that's what we want to do with our frequency. We want to get it nice and clear. And a lot of that, I said, is your thoughts, your feelings, your ability to be able to receive, being in alignment with feeling good. So therefore you can create what it is that you want. If you are struggling in some way, shape or form, do a couple of things, right? Go to my website. You can either go to intuitivelifeacademy.com or you can go to rebeccadavison.life. Book a consult with me there and we can have a chat about how you can shift those things around so you get to experience the fulfillment, the pleasure, the freedom. Or come and join us in the community, right? If you're interested and you want to know more about how you can create wealth through yourself, through your intuition, just come and join the free Facebook community. It's the Intuitive Life Academy by Rebecca Davison, creating profit for light workers. So really being a person who's choosing to expand their awareness, choosing to live from their soul, because that is where true wealth is always created. A lot of people don't understand that concept about source energy. Source energy is the source of all things. Where does money come from? It comes from source energy. It is part of the creation of source on the earth plane. We are an extension of source energy. So once we start learning about ourselves, learning about frequency, learning about energetics, and start applying it to money, you can create wealth in ways that will just amaze you. Or even playing with cryptocurrency and choosing crypto coins intuitively. There's so many different ways that you can apply your intuitive guidance to what it is that you wish to create. And again, sometimes we just have to suspend our disbelief and allow a whole new way of being to come forward to allow that to happen. And if you're curious by nature, which I have always been, I remember at school somebody saying to me once, curiosity killed the cat. And they looked so shocked when I turned around and said, and satisfaction brought it back. Be curious, be willing to explore. If you loved your money up or paid attention to your money or started appreciating your money more, just as an experiment for a week, and then made some notes at the end of the week in terms of what you noticed or what happened, you'll start to understand how energy works. What you focus on expands. We want to focus on feeling good, creating wealth, and experiencing all those miracles that can occur when we come into alignment with universal law. So I hope this information has been helpful for you in terms of kind of just highlighting perhaps where there may be some contraction in your current circumstance around money, checking your own motivations, starting to ask yourself, how much sway does money have in your life? A lot of people I speak to feel like money is the authority and they are not the authority. Even flipping that around, if you feel like money is the authority in your life at the moment, what would it feel like to know that you are the authority and money is a tool for you rather than feeling like it's the other way around? What would that do for you? Nice wee power shift, perhaps. Anyway, folks, it's always a joy and a privilege to connect with you guys. Do come and find us on Instagram. You can do that at rebeccadavison.life. That's my Instagram handle. It's always fantastic to connect with you and hear about what it is that you're choosing to do in regards to your money journey. It's an amazing gift, really, that the universe gives us. Another way that we can access really finding the heart of God through money. It's just a journey. It's a process. It's an invitation. And the invitation's always open. So I hope you continue to journey with me through the podcast. I'm sending you so much love and many, many blessings. Hope you have an amazing, abundant day today and all days. Bye for now. Bye. Thank you for joining the Intuitive Abundance podcast today. If you've enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe and write us a review so we can help other people positively impact their lives. I would really love that. If you're ready to activate the energy of abundance within you, then be sure to go to www.intuitivelifeacademy.com to sign up for our abundance activation process. Until next time, here's to your ever-increasing freedom. All my love. Bye for now.